You're listening to Psych to Parent, where we turn brain science into tiny wins at home. I'm Dr. Amy, your not-so-typical school psychologist, mom of two, and endurance athlete. I love a good data set and a diagnostic manual. But I also forget permission slips, overthink IEP emails, and occasionally replay the moment I snapped at my kids in the car. In other words, I'm in the messy middle with you, not above it. This show is for parents of big feeling, big thinking kids who are tired of vague advice and Pinterest perfect behavior charts. Each episode, I'll pull back the curtain on what I see in real evaluations, school meetings, my private practice, and my own kitchen, and translate the research into simple scripts, tiny routines, and nervous system friendly tweaks you can actually use. Think of it as a nervous system rehab meets mindset coaching meets a smart, slightly spicy, non-judgy friend in your earbuds. We'll take one real life challenge at a time and shrink it down into 1 or 2 tiny wins you can start this week. No perfection, no 47-step sticker systems, just small, repeatable shifts that add up over time. Quick legal-ish note in plain English. This podcast is for education and support. It's not therapy, it does not create a clinical relationship, and it's not a substitute for personalized medical or mental health advice. If you're worried about your child's safety or mental health, or your own, please reach out to a trusted professional. Okay, deep breath, drop your shoulders. You're not behind and you're not alone. Let's get psyched to parent. Okay, picture this. It's late May. You're in a chair sitting in your kid's classroom at that little table, and your face is doing that pleasant parent thing. Your voice is doing that thank you so much kind of thing. And your brain has like 47 tabs open at the same time. Tabs like, is next year going to be harder? Am I missing something? Is my kid's teacher judging me? Do I have to explain my child from scratch in August? How do I say this thing without crying or without getting really spicy in a way I regret later? And the teacher, who is kind and trying, says something to you like, he struggles with transitions, conflict, impulse control. Or you might hear, we've been using a sticker chart. We've tried a different seat, breaks. Or you could hear, she's seeing the school counselor for some emotion regulation or girl drama. And then it kind of follows up with, let's see how next year goes. And you nod, you smile, you say the obligatory thank you. And then you get in the car and your nervous system is like, cool, 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 cool. Wait, that is not a plan. Because what you want is not just feedback from your kid's teacher. What you want is a clear plan for what to work on over the summer, a handoff so you're not reintroducing your kiddo to their new teacher in August, and a calm adult way to decide if something like an assessment needs to happen next year based on school benchmarks, not fear. So in this episode, I'm going to give you the exact language, the 10 sentences that turn the end of the teacher talk into a real plan. Welcome back to Psych to Parent. I'm Dr. Amy, school psychologist and parent coach. Here's what we're going to do in this episode. First, walk into the end of your meeting with a structure that helps you stay regulated. Second, leave with a owner, data, and date. Who's doing what you're tracking, and when you'll review progress. Third, we're going to create a one-page handoff for next year's teacher, so August doesn't feel like you're hitting the reset button. And finally, I want you to know what to say when you hear, let's see how it goes, so it becomes a plan with a fall check-in. And I want to give you some important permission right now. You're going to hear 10 sentences, 10 different things that you can say when you're meeting with your kid's teacher. You are not required to use all 10 of them. Most parents I work with, we pick 3 to 5, and that is plenty. Because I'm not trying to turn you into a school psychologist. That's my job. I am trying to give you a few steady phrases you can grab when your brain goes blank in a meeting. And if you're the type of parent who attends a parent-teacher conference and it feels like an out-of-body experience or a dream, you might want to listen to my previous episode. I'll link it in the show notes. It's all about the sticky method and how to plan using a sticky note for a parent-teacher conferences so you're able to go in calm, regulated, and come up with a plan. Before we get tactical, let's normalize why this is hard for real reasons. If school meetings make you feel flooded, you're not being dramatic. You're human. This is the kind of meeting where parents are quietly running emotional math in the background. A lot of times I hear parents say to me, what if next year is worse? What if the teacher thinks I'm too much? What if I ask for too much and it backfires? What if I don't ask and we waste a whole semester? What if there's something bigger going on and I'm missing it? And here's the thing, parents carry a lot in these conversations because you're not talking about a worksheet. You're talking about your child's daily experience of school and your daily experience of parenting. And also, teachers can feel nervous too. A lot of general education teachers are amazing at teaching, but if they don't have special training in special education systems, neurodiversity, or big feelings behavior support, they can default to what feels safe. Generic supports, vague language, and that classic phrase of, let's see how it goes next year. Sometimes that isn't avoidance, it's uncertainty. So your job isn't to fight the teacher. Your job is to organize the conversation in a way that helps everyone say yes to something concrete, like a plan. And here's the tool we're using in 3 words that I want you to remember, and you can put on a sticky note. Owner, data, date. Let me say it again. Owner, data, date. And yes, we'll repeat it because repetition is regulating. Now let's talk about the why behind the behavior in plain language, because it makes the plan make more sense. Big feeling kids often have nervous systems that react fast when things shift. So a lot of what teachers call impulse control or transitions or conflict is your child's nervous system saying, this feels uncertain. I need control. Transitions are uncertainty. Pure conflict can show up as uncertainty. A new teacher can show up as uncertainty. And here's the tricky part. Especially in 3rd grade and honestly beyond, some kids are cognitively advanced and still have regulation skills that lag behind. So here's how that translates. They can sound like tiny attorneys. They can debate, they can negotiate, they defend, justify. They're really good oftentimes at pointing out what somebody else did that was wrong, while their body is actually saying, I'm not okay. So our goal isn't behave better. Our goal is skill building through micro reps. Things like predictable cues. Here's what's coming. Having consistent adult responses. Here's what we do when it's hard. Practicing when calm, not only in that meltdown moment, because consistency is what teaches the nervous system. Here's the school psych lens that changes everything. A plan isn't a plan unless it has 3 parts. Owner plus data plus date. Owner is who's doing it. Is it the teacher, parent, school counselor, the student? Data, that's what we are tracking. So we're not just relying on memory or vibes. Date, when are we reviewing progress? So we're not waiting until November. And here's a key point. The end of the school year is a transition season. This is actually a reasonable time to ask for what worked this year, what should start on day 1 next year, what supports can we fade over time, and when you're going to check progress early in the fall. Also, oftentimes parents think data has to be this complicated entity. It doesn't. Data can be super simple and still be useful. Here are 4 simple data lanes that work especially well for bright, big feeling kids. Number 1, transitions. This is time to start after a direction. And it could be things like if minutes feel too intense, you can use categories like under a minute, took 1 to 3 minutes, over 3 minutes. Number 2, conflict. Incidents needing adult intervention and completed repairs. Because the goal is not never have conflict. The goal is to have repair skills that are building so we can access them and use them quicker and with less emotion dysregulation when we need them as we practice using them over time. Number 3 is engagement. It's a quick 1 to 5 ready to learn, rating a few days a week. Teachers can't track everything daily forever. We just are looking for patterns. Finally, there's academics. This is where we can look at benchmarks and work samples, plus whether there might be some avoidance or perfectionism showing up with harder work. Because when we hear things like grades are fine and school is hard, both statements can be true at the same time. Now, you're not asking the teacher to become a researcher. you're building enough structure to answer one question early next school year in the fall. Is the plan working? And if it's not working, you're not panicking, you're problem solving. Let's do a quick school translator minute here. Many schools use acronyms in their day-to-day conversation. Let me go over a few of them with you. Oftentimes, schools start with problem-solving supports first. This is often called MTSS or RTI. MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, and RTI stands for Response to Intervention. Now, these are interventions or strategies that are implemented in the regular classroom setting before formal plans are put in place. A more formalized plan that we often hear is called a 504 plan. And now this is generally accommodations in how a student is able to access learning in the school environment. But another tool used in the schools is called an IEP or Individualized Education Plan. This is part of special education services and includes specialized instruction. And it's when a student needs teaching that's different in kind and not just getting more help. Now, an evaluation, like something I do in my practice, it's not a life sentence. It's information that helps match support to need. Your calm, steady sentence in this whole space is, I'm not asking for a label. I'm asking for an action plan with clear benchmarks and a date to review my kid's progress. Now, let's take this all out of the parent-teacher meeting, school lens, and into real life. Because parents aren't living in acronyms, they're living in the after-school chaos. Okay, real life. School might be fine-ish for your kid, and then your kid gets home and it's feral. After school transition can feel hard. Homework might be hard, bedtime could be hard. And summer, when structure disappears, can be the perfect storm. So when a teacher says transitions are hard, a parent hears, cool, so my entire evening is going to be negotiations. Let me paint a super common scene for you. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Your child walks in the door and you can feel it, like they're holding it together by a thread. You say something completely normal like, hey bud, take your shoes off, wash your hands, have a snack, and then let's start our homework. And your child hears too many steps, too many demands, too much uncertainty. And suddenly you're in this power struggle about washing hands. Or it's homework time and you say, just do the first two problems. And your child says, it's stupid, I hate it, I'm not doing it. And if we zoom out, it's not necessarily defiance. It's often frustration tolerance and some perfectionism and this feeling of, I don't want to feel wrong. And bedtime's a transition time too. A transition away from control, away from connection, away from the day they can still edit. So here's the point. When school says transitions, parents are experiencing it in 100 tiny moments. That's why we want the plan to be concrete. So you're not white knuckling your way through next year hoping it magically improves. Now here's a quick tool that helps you bring calm credibility to the meeting without oversharing. A dot log, not a novel, a one sentence a day for a week. Here's some examples you might write. Transitions are hardest after unstructured time. Preview and timer helped. When corrected publicly, it escalates. When given a job or a role, he stays regulated longer. That's it. You're giving the team patterns, not a memoir. Underneath all these moments is a reframe that keeps us from turning your kid into the problem. Your child is not trying to be in charge of you. They're trying to be in charge of uncertainty. So a transition blow-up might be saying, I wasn't ready. I don't know what was next. I felt trapped. I felt corrected, and I panicked. I felt like I was losing control. This matters because it helps shift the plan from stop it to teach it. And it also helps you hold a really important truth. Even bright kids who sound like tiny adults are still kids. Their skills are under construction. Summer should feel easier, but for a lot of families, it gets messy, fast, like real fast. There's snacks, screens, sibling fights, boredom, reading battles, late bedtimes, and suddenly parents become the whole operating system. That's why I'm hosting Summer Without the Spiral on Thursday, May 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 1-hour parent workshop to help you build a simple summer plan for learning, play, screens, and sanity. We'll talk about how to prevent the summer slide without turning summer into school, what counts as learning, and how to use tiny wins so your family has a plan you can return to when summer gets wobbly. When you sign up, you'll get access to the live workshop, the replay if you can't make it live, and a printable summer planning guide, also known as your Summer Command Center, to help you map out routines, screen expectations, reading goals, boredom ideas, and weekly resets. You'll leave with a simple framework for the 4 summer anchors. This workshop is free to attend. I'm simply asking families to consider making a donation to my Kyle Peace Foundation fundraiser as I train for Dobie 2027 as a push athlete. Register using the link in the show notes. Sometimes when we sit in those meetings with classroom teachers, it can be hard to find the right words to say. So we're going to move to something practical, parent scripts. I want you to be able to keep them simple so you don't feel like you need to memorize a speech. You're going to get 10 sentences, but I'm going to deliver them as 4 mini scripts so your brain can pick one lane. This is script number 1. It's great for a meeting opener, the first 10 seconds, which can change the whole feel of the meeting. You can literally read this off your notes. Before we get into the details, my goal today is simple. I want to leave with a plan we can measure and a date to revisit it early in the fall. That line sets the tone. It's collaborative, organized, not reactive. Now we turn to he struggles or she struggles into specifics. Here's script 2 when we turn teacher talk into a plan. Here are 3 sentences. Sentence number 1. When you see transitions, conflict, impulse control are hard. When you say transitions, conflict, impulse control are hard, what does that look like in real life at school? What are the 2 top moments that spark it most? Recess to class, stopping a preferred task, group work, lining up? What supports are in place right now, and can we make them specific? What's the cue? What's the tool? What's the back to learning step? Because breaks isn't a plan unless it has an entry and an exit point. Once supports are clear, we add data because data lowers defensiveness and helps everyone problem solve. For lane number 3 with scripts, we want to make it measurable. You just pick 2 or 3 that work for you to ask. Here's some questions you might use. Can we track transitions as time to start after a direction and number of big transition escalations per week? For peer conflict, can we track incidents needing adult intervention and completed repairs? For engagement, can we use a quick 1 to 5 ready to learn rating a few days per week, just long enough to see patterns? Academically, what data will we look at early fall? Benchmarks and work samples? And are we also watching avoidance or perfectionism with harder work? And if a teacher says something like, we don't track minutes, you can soften the ask without backing down. No problem. Could we use categories? Under a minute, over 3 minutes, 1 prompt, 3 prompts. Now we do the part parents really want, the handoff and the review date. So you're not waiting until November to realize the plan isn't working. Here's script 4, where we talk about the handoff and the review date and the questions you can use. Before school ends, can we create a 1-page transition summary for next year's teacher? What works, what makes it worse, and our focus goals. Can we schedule a progress review meeting for late September or early October, about 6 to 8 weeks after school started, so we're not waiting until November to adjust? If we don't see meaningful progress by that review date in the fall, what's our next step? Is it a problem-solving meeting, a discussion about special education or a 504 plan, or a request for an evaluation? And if you're worried the last one sounds intense, here's your calming add-on. I'm not trying to jump steps. I just do better when I know what next looks like. Let's do one quick mini role play so you can hear how warm and normal this can sound. I love to do these in my practice with kids. I do this all the time. These are really funny when I get to do them in front of parents and I'm talking to a stuffed animal and I feel like an idiot. All right, here's our role play. Here's the teacher. The teacher might say something like, he's a great kid. Let's see how next year goes. As a parent, you could respond with this. Totally. And I really appreciate everything you've tried. My goal today is a plan we can measure and a date to revisit in early fall. Could we pick 2 focus areas and track a couple simple things like time to start for transitions and repairs after conflict? And then check in around week 6 or 8? That's it. Warm, clear, organized. Okay, now tiny wins. This is where we keep it doable and non-overwhelming. Remember, pick one is enough. Tiny win number 1, write your meeting goal in one sentence. It might be something like, I want the owner and data and date in a fall review meeting. Tiny win number 2, choose 3 of the 10 sentences you'll use. Highlight them. Write them on a sticky note. Tiny win number 3, start a 7-day dot log, 1 sentence per day. It doesn't need to be a novel, just 1 sentence. Tiny win number 4, practice 1 micro transition at home with a timer. In 2 minutes, we're switching. Celebrate the start. Pick one's enough. Thank you so much for being part of the Psych to Parent community. There are 3 favors I want to ask of you. Favor number 1, share this episode with 1 parent friend. If you know a parent who's walking into an end of year teacher meeting and leaving with vibes instead of a plan, send them this episode and say something like, listen to the part about owner, data, and date, and the 10 sentences that turn let's see how next year goes into an actual plan. It helped me know what to ask for. Favor number 2, head to the show notes and grab the volcano moments and hurricane level feelings phrases guide. If your house has after school runway, homework shutdowns, fairness fights, or full-on volcano moments, this is for you, friend. This helps you have 1 line to say before your kid explodes, and you don't have to improvise in the moment. It's linked in the show notes. Favor number 3, leave a quick review for the show. This could be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. If Psych to Parent has helped you feel less alone or helped you walk into a school conversation clearer, would you take 30 seconds to leave a review? Reviews are how this show reaches the parents who are currently sitting in the car after a school meeting thinking, okay, but what's the plan? Okay, deep breath. Today, we learned about how to turn end-of-year teacher talk into a real plan using owner plus data plus date. And you got 10 sentences that help you define what hard looks like, clarify supports, track a few simple progress signals, and set an early fall review date so you're not waiting until November to realize the plan isn't working. We'll keep making the homeschool puzzle less mysterious together. 1 owner, data, date moment at a time. 1 set of 10 sentences that turn let's see how it goes into an actual plan. 1 one-page handoff so you're not starting over in August. 1 transition metric you can track without a spreadsheet degree. 1 September-October check-in date on the calendar. And the next time you sit at that tiny round table in that tiny chair, remember, schools have expertise and you are the expert on your child. Your insight is not extra, it's essential. You're not behind, you're building a partnership, and you're building skills, yours and theirs. 1 small, doable step at a time. Until next time, my friends. Thank you for hanging out with me on Psych to Parent. I'm Dr. Amy, your not-so-typical school psychologist, and I'm genuinely glad you're here doing this work instead of quietly white-knuckling it and blaming yourself. Your tiny win from today's episode is simple. Do not overhaul your entire parenting style. Pick 1 idea, 1 sentence, or 1 tiny shift and try it in a low-stakes moment this week. Then notice what changes, even if it is just by 1%. If you want more support, head over to psych2parent.com. You'll find show notes, simple scripts, and parent-friendly guides that go with these episodes. While you're there, make sure you join the Tiny Wins mailing list so you get weekly brain-based tips, real-life examples from my work with families, and first dibs on new workshops and resources. It's the easiest way for us to stay connected beyond the podcast. If this podcast was helpful, it really does matter when you tap follow or subscribe. Leave a quick review or text it to a friend who is parenting a big-feeling, big-hearted kid too. This podcast is for education and encouragement. It is not therapy, and it's not a substitute for individualized care. If you're worried about your child or yourself, please reach out to a trusted professional in your area. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are building something new, 1 tiny win at a time. I'll see you in the next episode, probably with a cold coffee in hand, cheering you on.